And what is up, folks? We're back. Nigel Miranda here. We're ready to talk about Impact on AXS TV. And what a insane, crazy week, night, everything considered. I don't even know where to start, but I do have to make sure that Miranda's doing well today as my co-host tonight. So, Miranda, how's everything going? How's it feels? What's the jitters? If everything feels a little different today.
Look, when we finished last week's episode, I would have not imagined the week that we had ahead. I think we, finished last week's episode knowing what was going, what we were going to see in final resolution. We had a few match announcements. I know that we'll get into later as to what we're going to be seeing this Saturday. And then the wrestling world just exploded last Wednesday. So that has been something that I've been kind of in shock of, to be honest. I think I've really just spent this week kind of in shock and highly anxious about what was going to happen during this week's Impact Wrestling.
Not even a question. I'm going to cut right to the chase right now. This is what they're calling the biggest night of Impact Wrestling of this year. That may be arguable, but we'll just play the game. Yeah. But that's all because the new AEW World Champion Kenny Omega, alongside the Impact Executive Don Callis, is to and did appear tonight on Impact Wrestling. Now, we talk so much about the opportunities, the possibilities, Impact, New Japan, MLW, anybody who's willing to do business. And like we talked about Don Callis appearing on Full Gear before, all that stuff you can check out our other episodes. But now that it has happened, I think it really legitimately opened up everyone's eyes as to professional wrestling. We thought this year was going to be crazy. Had no idea what it would be to this point. So the first question I just want to start off right now, because we got a lot to talk about tonight. Hopefully we can still cram it in our 30 minutes, is Kenny Omega appearing on Impact. Is he that big of a star that he transcends everything and everyone that Impact represents right now? Is he just that big of a star that nothing else matters besides him?
I would like to think no. And not that Kenny Omega is not a big deal. I do think, though, he is this kind of courier of partnership, though, between AEW and Impact Wrestling. He is someone that, AEW fans are so drawn to. I mean, that wrestling fans all over the world are so drawn to, that could steer their eyes to Impact Wrestling. But as we saw tonight, I mean, they mentioned Kenny Omega a lot in the interview, but they couldn't build a whole show around Kenny Omega. They still had to continue with stories. They had matches, and they continue to showcase why they are a great program, a great product, a great promotion, and what makes them special and unique. But, I am personally not on the bandwagon that Kenny is the alpha and the omega of wrestling. I believe he's pivotal and, very vital. And but I still feel like Impact still breathes and lives as Impact. It still needs to have its own identity, because ultimately they don't want to get lost in this hoopla of AEW and Kenny Omega. They still want to maintain who they are as a wrestling promotion, because this will come and go. This partnership will not be forever. It is a way to showcase something very unique in the wrestling world, but it's not going to be forever. So you can't really put all your eggs in this basket right now. You could put in some, but don't put in everything, because then you're going to lose who you are, and you're going to offset, a lot of talent that have worked really hard to display and showcase their work on a weekly basis.
Yeah, after last week's Wednesday's AEW Dynamite, what I'm calling the Jacksonville screw job, they're calling the Golden Screw job. And this Impact night starting off with a recap of AEW, it really felt like Bizarro's world of just, I didn't know what I was watching. It felt a little bit different. It was
so strange. You watched AEW television on AXS TV on a completely different network. It was a completely different promotion. I totally understand. You had to take a double look of, like, they're not even starting with Impact stuff. They're starting with AEW storyline.
Yeah, I just was like, whoa, where am I? What's happening? But it was a crazy night. We knew the big segment, which went about 20 minutes, was going to be at the completion of this show. Without a doubt, the biggest draw of the night had to be at the end. But there's a lot of things I want to kind of dissect with that. So I want to start off by asking the next big question. We've seen after the completion of the main event, we will talk about some of the matches for tonight, but we've seen after the completion of the main event, which was completely just forget that post-match celebration and whatever. They cut that once the 1, 2, 3, that thing was off. I was just like, oh, okay.
Okay, then they made right. Chris Bey celebrate. Damn.
Exactly right. But we get to see Rich Swann as he tries to exit the building. He just gets disrespected as the champion. They said the champion is in the parking lot. I'm the champion, not Moose. So before we talk about the segment, which definitely a lot we want to dissect here, do you think what Don Callis said about this being the real world champion, what happened with that bozo at the door denying Rich Swann, saying that the real champion is outside, does this diminish Impact Championship, Rich Swann, or any championship within Impact Wrestling? Or do we just have to see how this angle plays out? Because I gotta be honest, I felt the disrespect instantly. I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, I kind of sensed that throughout the night, and I'm sure we may get to some of the other moments, but I felt like they did come to Impact a bit to say, oh, you guys are really cute with your little world title and your little wrestling show here, you know. Let us, you know, really tell you about what real wrestling looks like. Let us show you what a real world champion looks like. That's the tone that I got throughout the night, and even in that segment. And it did seem like Kenny talked about, you know, being a collector and possibly, you know, looking for another world title to add to his collection. And yeah, I mean, literally, this is Impact Wrestling. This is their show. And somehow they let Kenny Omega decide, you know, one, take over a parking lot. Now I understand this is Don Callis as well, and he's an executive, and that was probably a lot of him. But even then, it just felt, you know, a little disrespectful to your own champion that you can't even let him go through a proper exit because Kenny Omega has a whole parking lot reserved. So it was a little off-putting. And again, too, I don't know if it's just because you have Rich Swann as your champion. I think if this was a different champion, we may have had it.
Oh, don't say that. Oh, don't say that.
I'm going there. I'm going there. I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility that maybe this would have gone down different. You know, I'm slowly getting acclimated to Rich Swann as world champion, but if they're alluding to what they're alluding to possibly, and we see a Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann, or they even teasing that, come on now, not 2 seconds flat who I think would win, and that shouldn't be the case, but that is.
And again, I just be clear, we're talking about, you know, and we're talking about how this may be shaping up to be booking. I do agree, but we're talking about talent for talent. I mean, Rich Swann stands in there with the best. It's not even a question. And that would be a hell of a match. But I mean, again, we're back to Rich Swann with the underdog story. Where did we see this before? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you have an underdog as your world championship holder, I mean, that does really true feel like an underdog story, and one that I think would actually translate very well in a match. I could believe that. I could believe him being the true underdog, and I think that would actually help showcase that story in ways that we haven't been able to see just in the work in Impact. So I think that, you know, there's a lot of layers to it, and absolute no disrespect in undermining, I think, his championship reign. But it is kind of weird that you have someone else from this other company almost kind of setting the tone for everything that happens at Impact. And it was just kind of a weird feeling that really so much happened.
Yeah, I mean, I love Hill Kenny, so I mean, it works. I mean, they're making jokes about Moxley and Dean Ambrose back in the day.
The digs being from Stanford and all of that.
Yeah, I get it, and they're definitely building Kenny Omega's character across both shows. Don Callis is becoming a staple back in the wrestling world as a personality, regardless of what he's been doing behind scenes. First of all, his promo was fire. Kenny Omega's promo was fire. I mean, they are legitimately setting the foundation for what they're trying to do, and it's not even a question as to legitimizing the direction of their stable, should we say, and their tangent. So I love the presentation that we got from that as well too. But I think the other thing, when I said on my podcast is each and every Thursday on the YouTube and all audio platforms. The 300 episode is this Thursday, but I say it all the time on the podcast that, you know, last week I didn't say it all the time, but I said last week on the podcast, I said that this isn't a battle. And even though that this may sound like this is some type of force against force, they're playing together, and we're going to see the elevation of both promotions here. And it's all going to be within fair games. That's why they're taking particular type of shots at each other, because they are aware of the ramifications of if this legitimately was a war. I mean, when you look at Tommy Dreamer's and his concerns about this, when we'll go to Tony Khan's little segment as well, but like that's why you know it's not a battle, because everyone's making it very clear as to, well, what if we really was battling, these things happen. That's why, like, you know, you don't go to war with somebody. You say, well, here's what we're going to use, and here's the way we're going to do it. You know what I mean? That's why, like, it is a partnership, and it seems to be healthy as of right now. And it is, you know, it's supposed to be the elevation of both brands. I was talking to this about my buddies, and this is a little off topic too. It's the same thing with the Marvel, Disney, and Sony deal, where they use Spider-Man because Spider-Man is the most popular superhero out there outside of Batman. And Marvel needed him for their Civil War movie. They needed that. And Sony said, well, we'll give you the rights to the most popular superhero. But what we're going to do is we're going to legitimize us so that when we're done with this deal, we stand strong on our 2 feet. Now look at all the Spider-Man news that's coming out right now.
Yeah,
the old Spider-Man's coming back, and they're creating this little Spider-Verse. Yeah. This is what I see happening here. Yeah. AEW being the most legitimate one, and Impact, who's shown longevity over all these years, now are saying that we're shaping ourselves up to be super strong on our 2 feet come 2021. 2020 is already a hell of a year. 2021 is, I think, is even going to be much, much better for them.
Yeah, and it's a very good analogy with, you know, with the comics with Marvel, because that was part of the analogy that Kenny Omega used as far as him. You know, I think it helps his character that he understands he is the best in the world. I mean, literally, not just one person who works with the largest company in the world that has a worldwide reach. He has literally wrestled in every continent in the world. He's had the most 5-star matches in the world. He is truly a world traveler and a world wrestler. So it only makes sense for him to continue on this path with other promotions such as Impact to kind of, you know, almost like be the Thanos of wrestling, collect it all. And then
you say something super key, and that's the word travel here. Some people, that's all they know. It's the travel. Yeah. They've traveled all over the world for wrestling. That's the joy of going to different places, different nationalities, you know, being around different ethnicities, just the mingling all over the world. When you go to a certain brand, you may have to only stay in one place. You think that Kenny Omega, being in the position he was for his company, wasn't going to position himself to be able to travel? That's why he made it very clear that I love to travel. That's why I'm going to name drop AAA. Also, did you hear AAA was also name dropped earlier today when they said that Impact, who our partnership in Mexico, AAA. So you have to think.
Yeah, they talk Taya Valkyrie, AAA Reina de la Reinas champion, you know, and what's happening this Saturday. Now, I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself. So much is happening. My brain is about to explode because there's so much crossover, so much tie-in, which is ultimately a beautiful thing. It's a good thing for wrestling and for wrestling fans, because that's how, you know, partnership, no matter how long it is or isn't, helps wrestling in the long term and sustainability and exposure and bringing in a wider fan base. So, I mean, talk about traveling. I mean, Kenny alluded to, you know, the bus that he's on may be this new Lex Express.
The Lex Express. I love that.
So, I mean, like, it's literally, are we going to see him all over the place in this Lex Express? I mean, that's a great throwback as well. But if you are talking about, speaking of analogies too, you know, Kenny Omega is one of those pinnacles of wrestling, almost like the Spider-Man, that if you are looking at a representative of wrestling that can transcend promotions, cultures, even languages. Kenny Omega is that one that we've seen do it. So, I mean, I feel like you're right in the utilization and planning of this. Kenny is probably the best person because also he doesn't have a lot of former ties to Impact or the E. You know, I mean, he truly was bred and experienced through the independent. So the fact that you have someone as such a big name that has no previous ties to any of these other larger promotions outside of AEW is a pretty big get for Impact. And so
and I was just gonna say, and to that, and to your point of that analogy as well too, let's also remember, like, if you want to say that Kenny is the Spider-Man and he's the one that's going to make your brand better, then it does. It definitely highlights it. But also, again, once the deal is done, that everybody wins here. And it's that Spider-Man was bigger than the movie, the Captain America movie, because it was still Civil War, it was still about Captain America, but he added to it. And I think that's what we're going to end up getting here. You got Kenny here, but he's not going to be bigger than what's here. And I know the fans are going to say he's the biggest star in the world. I get it. I get it. But as a business person, would you ever let your player, would you ever let somebody come in and supersede everything that you worked on building thus far?
I like all these analogies we've been throwing out. I think in the business sense, he is Spider-Man, but in the character personality sense, he's trying to be Thanos. He's trying to
Thanos got name dropped tonight too.
Yes, I was going to say he's going to be the Thanos. He's going to collect all the championships and then decide I am pro wrestling and I will begin and end it however I want. Like that itself, I'm not mad at that kind of that theory, that idea that he's going to go. I mean, if he collects all these championships from all over, and then he's like, and then snap. Wrestling's done. Then he finishes the game of pro wrestling, and then we're all gone.
I hope not. But God, I can see a graphic being made right now. Somebody showing Kenny Omega with all the championships on him.
Yeah,
that's what they want. But again, I'm looking for. I didn't expect for him to wrestle much, like he said, and I love the fact that he trolled and people thought he was going to wrestle. But I love the fact that he threw out the possibilities that he may want to work against the Impact World Champion. So the possibilities there. Let the internet get to talking about the potential matches, but that's already been done last week. So, you know, he just only solidified what we've been saying here on our show for the last couple of months. Once we've seen that Scott D'Amore said we want to do things, like now we know, like, we can do things. So here's all the things we think they can do. So it's a really good segment. I know a lot of it's going to be clipped off all over the internet. Matter of fact, that just reminds me, I just want to make sure I make this announcement really quick. That even as you're watching this review now, that if you have not got a chance to watch it either on Twitch or on AXS TV, that a special encore presentation will be on Facebook and YouTube channels as of right now. So if you're watching our review, come back after you check it out. It's going to be on there for you to watch, because that's just how big this is. They want to make sure that all the viewers do get to check this out. So as of right now, we're about 18 minutes in, so it's about 10:18 right now, which means it started 18 minutes ago Eastern time. Check it out on their Facebook and on their YouTube channel. I got all these brands going, and I love the Dean Ambrose laughy ha ha and the Connecticut reference. That was good. Josh Matthews has just always been the punch.
Josh Matthews was a champ in that one. He is.
Yes. So all right, let's go to the next thing. Now we got the commercial doing this, that AEW with Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone, as they traditionally do on Dynamite, but they got that old school, old wrestling style commercial that they do in promoting Dynamite. We got this week, we got them promoting their matches that are going to happen tomorrow. So all that's on their social media and everything. But the question, the focus here is Tony Khan's comments here. Now, Tony Khan is a very nice person. I've met him and talked to him a few times. And he's always very adamant about how much he loves the business, how much he loves the fan. Truly a good guy. No character. Good guy. Tony Khan, the character, has appeared.
A little something there,
Yeah. Oh, wait. Let me add this too. I'm not sure who's behind the tweets. That might be Tony Khan, the character too. The ones who always be talking about the demographics. I'm not sure. When he gets on the Twitter, he doesn't care at that point. But in person, great guy. Great guy.
Well, and I think he's understanding that kind of level of, you know, the person and the character, that there can be two different versions, and it almost in a way you need to in order to, you know, be the leader of a wrestling company. And this is what I was mentioning earlier, though. I feel like a little bit of the vibe was like, oh, Impact, you're so cute, you know, with your little show. Like that is, and I don't know how intentional or unintentional that was, but I have to say it was a little off-putting. Now, I know this was just the initial and it could evolve into different things, but that was the tone and sense that I got from it. Especially, I mean, they were really, Tony Schiavone ended about how Tony Khan asked him, Schiavone, didn't you announce for this promotion before? And he said, yeah. And then I quit the business for 20 years. Like, come on. I mean, one moment, that is in alignment with Impact's humor. Impact pokes a lot of fun at itself. And so I'm sure they found that hilarious. But also there's a moment of like, but it's like one thing when you make fun of yourself, but when someone else makes fun of you, like, nah, that's not allowed. I can have that self-deprecating humor, but you can't make fun of me. I don't know. That was the tone and vibe that I got. But I mean, Tony did have a very interesting point about, you know, looking at a particular division within Impact that.
Yeah, and again, I'm happy. This is what I want to talk about because we've been talking about this so much. I mean, Miranda, let me just add a little bit more content to what you were saying. Number one, Tony Khan saying this is a paid ad here, so we paid them in order to run this ad. That's how it works, and it because he says that I hope that this helps promote our champion and our brand. And he kind of said things in the sense of like, well, also because this also helps promote them as well. So we paid to help them. And I as much like you said, is that a jab or I don't know? And it's Tony Khan, the character.
Maybe it was the delivery of it that I think maybe like the delivery of it. I think if it would have had a different delivery, it probably would have sounded very normal. But I don't know. You were right. Like this Tony Khan there's something about, I would say, the delivery of this message that made it seem just a little like Tony Khan, a character.
And let's not forget the biggest statement of the statements. Rumors, I might buy Impact Wrestling. I'm sorry, I would never let that joke float on my show because
right? I mean, I could see that being also a Stanford jab, like I gotta buy my you know, like I could see that being more of an E jab. But again, it was the delivery of it that was just, and I guess I'm not used to seeing this version of Tony Khan because we don't really see it that much on AEW. So I feel like if we would have seen that kind of character on AEW, it would be like, oh, that makes perfect sense because that's someone that we see on a weekly television show. But because he's a little bit more limited in, you know, what he does in the media, in his role in AEW, this was really one of the first times we saw just Tony Khan on TV, and it was a different inflection and different delivery than we're used to. And I don't know, you know, what's the end game with that? What are they trying to do? Is he really going to evolve into, you know, more of a character, or was it just for the purposes of this Impact show that, you know, they wanted to have a different side of him?
And let's not get it twisted. We know how the wrestling world works, especially the IWC, the internet wrestling community. Well, you have to do things like this because this is what sells. The Young Bucks understand how to make merch. Something happens, it gets trending, make it a shirt. They're going to do this. They legit are going to
hot topic and just in time for Christmas, y'all.
Yep, they're going to legitimate play this game because this is what sells. They're going to say, well, I may buy Impact. Oh my God, they might buy Impact. Well, now you want to see if he's going to legitimately do it. You want to see how Impact going to respond. You're legit are creating buzz between two shows. And I mean, Scott D'Amore, I cannot wait till people get the truth.
Yes, I was gonna say, like, I want to see a Tony Khan Scott D'Amore interaction more than anything now.
I don't know. I don't know if there's enough firepower from anybody to stand next to Scott D'Amore when it comes.
I just cannot. Like, now I want that so bad. That's the crossover we all need and we all deserve. Tony Khan and Scott D'Amore, make it happen.
But yeah, like you said, like you know, he did acknowledge something that we know is no secret that. You know, there are great tag teams in Impact Wrestling, but he said the greatest tag team in the world is the Young Bucks, putting them over, obviously, as he should. But he says he's going to check out the Impact talent pool. So, and then that's when he proceeds in saying that rumors saying I might buy Impact Wrestling. Here's the thing. We already said it. We don't even need to focus on it no more. We want Impact tag teams to face off against AEW tag team. Plain and simple. The combination possibilities is limitless, and I'm all for it. They've already said back a few months ago that they've already gave their graces to both people. Both promotions have gave their graces to their talent that we want to see these things happen. It won't be long before we see the North versus FTR, or the North versus the Bucks, or the Good Brothers versus the Bucks.
Yeah, versus Machine Guns versus even the Bucks. I mean, even though we've already seen that before, it's totally different now. I kind of wish that this was the week they did the flashback moment of the night, because I think that would have kind of tied it in, even though they alluded to it last week, which is, again, the flashback moment of the week. That's always a hidden gem that gives you some indication of what's to happen in the future. But yeah. I mean, there's so much to it, and that would be amazing. That is one thing that Impact and AEW have been doing pretty right, especially the growth of the tag team division in just the past few months for Impact. It is, it's changed a lot to the point where they really can be on par with AEW.
Yep. So as much as we talked about the segments and all this stuff that happened, let's get into the matches really quick, because there was some absolutely very solid wrestling matches that was going on. Now, I initially said, and I'm so glad I'm wrong about this, that I'm saying, well, if you're going to give this type of stage to Impact Wrestling, they need to put on their biggest and best matches so they can show people that they're legitimate. And I love the fact that they stayed true to themselves and they ran a show that they will really traditionally have ran. Now, this Saturday's Final Resolution, hopefully people check that out, because that's going to really be the display of what Impact really puts on to the highest quality. But tonight was absolutely good. I mean, you had you basically, you started off the night with Josh Alexander versus Chris Sabin. I mean, this is a genius wrestling match. I'm starting to think I'm a Josh Alexander stan, Mark, and there's no denying that. I just truly love him in the ring. He's absolutely good. And I just love the North. And it's funny to see the North play that card of them being a little bit dysfunctional. But
I mean, that is
a solid match.
Yeah, that is very interesting. I mean, we do know that Ethan Page is going up against Carl Anderson this weekend, so we don't know how that's going to play out now that we know there's some dissension between the North. Also, again, the rumors about Ethan Page and where he's going to end up in the next year. Is this setting them up for a potential breakup, which breaks my heart as a North fan. But, again, who knows if this is just kind of a one-off just to throw things off for a loop for Final Resolution, or is this the start of seeds being planted for something long-term? But a great match as always. I mean, Josh Alexander and Chris Sabin in general, man, after all this time, still just does amazing in the ring. They had really good chemistry, and that kind of roll of jackknife pin was a bit surprising to me. I did not expect that as to be the finisher. I thought it was going to be kind of more within a specific finishing maneuver, but it was a really great way to start the show.
Yeah, everything Madison Rain said today on the money about the longevity of the Motor City Machine Guns and just transcending through eras of wrestling and still being at top notch. But yeah, very solid match for a weekly show, which at any point we knew this could went to the next level to be pay-per-view quality, but this was a super, super good match. Following the next match with Brian Myers and TJP, I mean, I need absolute more of these two. It's crazy how much I like Brian Myers now. I can't even compute that. I don't know how I got here, but I'm here.
And I like how they really played on Brian Myers' like obvious size and strength, and that is something, again, like maybe in the Land of the Giants was underplayed, but in a match against TJP, he is physically and obviously the stronger of the two, more of the powerhouse. But TJP more with that fast-moving pace and, really like the ability to just move so quickly. That can be an Achilles heel for Brian Myers. So actually two different styles that played very well in the ring. And I think that the more they utilize Brian Myers in like this big strength role, you do get reminded, wow, he's actually a pretty big dude. He can do a lot of strength moves, a lot of big man moves. And that could be where his role, his place, it fits well within the Impact roster.
Yep. And then you got the announcement of at Final Resolution being the final Rohit defeat Rohit challenge of the year. TJB says, good luck. We'll see what Miranda is right about on Saturday.
You know, it's Rohit Raju coming through it, you know. And again, I think we've both, I mean, though we've both known how his wins come about, it's been an entertaining series. Like, I'm not bored of the Beat Rohit challenge. I'm actually interested in figuring out each match. How is he going to maneuver his way to win? And I don't think that his wins make any one that he defeats look any lesser. It just makes him look like, wow, he's just gotten real lucky. But luck runs out eventually. And again, I think that whoever beats him for this belt will actually look incredibly strong as the person who finally maneuvered and outmaneuvered or outsmarted Rohit, who's been on this role for so long. So, but yeah, he's got to find some way. And maybe it's a new way that will be pretty hilarious on how he keeps the X Division championship.
Yeah, Rohit's money. Can't wait to see how that turns out. So you had this Cody Deonna versus Eric Young match. So here's the thing. This was also the match that, you know, I wanted to happen, and I wanted it to happen a certain way, and it didn't. Everything what Eric Young is doing with him and why is his name slipping out of my head? His muscle. His name will drop in my head in a second. I love what they're establishing now. I'm starting to see the flow. I'm starting to see the trajectory with them. Cody Deonna now, you want him to be not a nobody, and I think that while the promo had him being laser focused, I hate the fact that he lost to a distraction.
Yeah, and he started off so strong in the match. Like, he came out with just focus and aggression that I don't see from him because he's usually more of a comedy act. So I felt like the beginning of the match set the tone of like, this is a different Cody Deonna. Like, this could actually be something. And yes, the fact that it was a distraction, I don't know if that means they're going to try again at this. And I don't know. I mean, it wasn't a comedy angle, which, you know, is something. But I felt like they really just kind of went downhill for me after just really the first like minute of the match. I wasn't getting the Cody Deonna that I hope would come through this. And you know, this whole new vision for Eric Young, I'm still I'm taking the time to kind of see where it goes, but it's not something that I'm glued to as a story every week though.
Yeah, Joe Doring. So yeah, I like what the two of them are starting to display now. And you know, Eric Young didn't even talk tonight. So like, you know, I thought this was a good match just without words. So we'll see more of Eric Young's already established, but I want to see what Joe Doring, wow, this signing made sense for both parties here. I want to see a little bit more to get him a little bit unleashed, but I do like the foreshadow aggression that he possibly can show once given the right opportunity and time. So we'll see. All right, so the Knockouts Tag Team Championship Tournament moves on, and we have the match that I kind of been looking forward to. One of the biggest matches I wanted to look forward to, and that's strictly because of Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie, who we know at some point are going to have a one-on-one that's going to be for all the marbles. But I do love Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly as a tag team, and I thought they legitimately good as a tag team. And Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary, I mean, what can you say? They've just been working on all cylinders all year together, so it just works. Here's the thing with this, though. I started wondering for a minute, as much as I started thinking about this match, I was like, wait, how's this match even going to be booked? And I just started like thinking about things. I was like, okay, well, you have to keep faces versus heels. We know who the heels are, obviously. But next round, you have Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz, who are clearly heels. So I was like, the faces got to win. But then I was thinking about it for beyond that. I was like, well, who takes the pin here? Deonna's not taking the pin, but they're not going to let Deonna and Taya pin each other. And also, Rosemary is kind of off hands right now, too, with everything involving her character. I was like, oh, that just leaves, poor Kimberly.
But you know what, though? I was excited for this match, for the interaction between Taya and Deonna, but I really was surprised by how much I liked the dynamic between Taya and Kimberly.
Oh, I love that split spot. I forgot all about that.
Like just that leg lock that she had too. Like you could really tell pretty shortly into the match. They have very similar wrestling styles and almost just like move set too. That I was like, wait. I was more drawn to Taya and Deonna, but this is, I want to watch more of this. I would not be mad at this as a long-term program. And yeah, the split spot was a lot of fun. And you're right as far as, you know, process of elimination, how those pins went. But I think one, it was a great display of the Knockouts division. And two, I think, again, just the surprising matchups and surprising interactions throughout these matches that say, wow, that caught my attention, or that was, you know, something I'd love to see more on a one-on-one. I do think that what we are going to get this Saturday with Rosemary versus Deonna is a little random, but maybe there's something more to it, whether it's the Suzy Sue Young story or maybe it leads to something else. But, you know, it is a little random, but you know what? You know, we will just wait and see.
Yep. And that brings us to our main event for the night here. Filled with black excellence up and down the board. Moose, along with Chris Bey, takes on Rich Swann and his best friend, Willie Mack. Now, here's the thing here. Oh, well, so let me be clear. TNA World Heavyweight Champion Moose and the IMPACT World Heavyweight, the World Champion, Rich Swann. This match was really good. Quite frankly, Chris Bey and Rich Swann, the interactions that they had together. I mean, this match pretty much mirrors what the last match did as far as how you want to keep certain people away from each other, but also you still need to tell a story and so on. So this match was really good. And here's what I'm just quickly going to say. Watch this match to show you glimpses of what possibly could come out of the four of the people that was in the ring. There's a bunch of different, shall I say, matrices that can be paired off here that just makes sense. And I need more Chris Bey and Moose as a tandem because their interactions is funny, but I need this Chris Bey and Rich Swann match like, well, Saturday. But I need it. I need it right now. Right now.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, we did see some of this last week, and we've seen a lot of this in backstage segments. I do like how they've kept it where there's intertwining of storylines, so it makes sense that we continue to see all of them interact with each other and have matches with each other. But you're not quite getting the main picture yet, or the big picture yet, because we're saving that till Saturday. So I'm very excited to see a one-on-one match between Rich Swann and Chris Bey, because that is going to be something else. And I do feel like this could be a great opportunity for a really solid title defense by Rich Swann. And that's what I think he needs to help really solidify and help ingrain him as, you know, I am the world champion. I get that there may be doubters. I get that, you know, that people may not believe in him, but a solid match with, you know, hopefully no interference by moves or anything like that helps showcase, you know, why he is the world champion. So, but it does leave a lot of, you know, just factors out in the air for what happens after final resolution. If we're going to see a continuance of Moose wanting to go after Rich Swann, if maybe we see, you know, Willie Mack throw his name in the hat to try and get a world championship opportunity. Who knows what that's all going to look like, but there's a lot of moving pieces here, and I felt like it was a great way to tease what we're going to see on Saturday and the potential of what the world championship match is going to look like without revealing, you know, too much, just giving you enough where you're interested.
Yeah, man, we got so much to cover. We covered a lot tonight. We definitely will a little bit over our usual 30 minutes. Well, we're about 30 to 40 minutes, but like we got this Saturday, we got final resolution. So we'll obviously be talking about that next week. Clearly, we got to keep our eyes out on Wednesday, as we already do, but we kind of strictly only talk about IMPACT here. But we have to see where does everything go now, as they said. Say what?
It's crazy. Like that's how even how much it evolves our viewing, where, you know, we only focus on Tuesdays, and now we got to look at the rest of the week to see how it's going to affect Tuesday nights, which again, a week ago was not even a factor. A week ago we said, yeah, she's coming back on Tuesday. I go, of course, on Saturday. How's it going to affect Saturday? Saturday is also a big day, you know, with Final Resolution. You have Triple Mania for AAA. And, you know, again, we don't know who's going to, just too much.
And you have the start of the Super J Cup too. So Saturday is a crazy day for wrestling. It's a lot going on. You just don't know. We just got to kind of see how it all plays out. But I mean, again, you know, Kenny Omega and Don Callis have said back to AEW, they got a big announcement to make. So we have to see what that pertains to. With that, we got to see what Tony Khan has to say about things. I mean, we'll see if anybody else from Impact potentially shows up to AEW. May not be, you know, talent, but Scott D'Amore may have something he wants to say after certain comments.
Scott D'Amore should show up on AEW's door. Give him a piece of his mind. He'd be the perfect person to show up and you know. Oh, I just dream booking all the interactions between Scott D'Amore and Tony Khan. I just dream booking Scott D'Amore and Tony Khan.
Just give me Scott D'Amore versus Sting. Just book that, damn it.
Oh man, fantasy booking at its finest.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure we leave out the show by saying, like, we're super excited. We're still covering Impact each and every Tuesday. We're super excited that fans are very excited for everything that's happening in Impact with AEW. It's not a war, folks. It's just two brands wanting to get the best of each other to be elevated. And if it has people crossing shows, and so be it. But like, everyone wins here. So let's not use words that you know, negates that. War is definitely not a positive thing, because no one wins in war. That's a song, if you don't know. I'm not going to expose my age, because then again, you're going to be like, well, where was that song made? But it doesn't matter.
Just trust us. And, you know, a little fun fact, I mean, this is how this review happens each week. We are members of different wrestling sites that come together each week to let you know about what's happening with Impact Wrestling. So Big Gold Belt Media, thechairshot.com, we come together every week, you know, use our forces for good to tell you about Impact Wrestling. So, I mean, we are a prime example of that. And I'm pretty sure that's how AEW and Impact figured it out. They watched this and they said, wow, Miranda and Najir can do that every week. We can do that every week.
I love you, Greg.
Shout out to Greg, and I mean, everyone. So thechairshot.com is going to be covering this. Big Gold Belt Media is going to be covering this, because also I'm sure there's lots of different perspectives about this, but you're absolutely right. I think it's one thing to share your opinion, but also, you know, do it in a way that is more, you know, constructive and really just there to help, you know, people understand different perspectives and different sides, because that too, I mean, you are having two very, you know, AEW fans are very known for being passionate and, you know, very vocal about their product. And I know Impact fans too, you know, sometimes fly under the radar, but this is a big opportunity and get for more people to come and watch Impact Wrestling. So I know everyone has opinions about it. Even you and I today, we had some differing opinions on this stuff, but it's a good thing, you know, just to having the opportunity, something that's different that we have never seen and don't think we will again. You know, this is something that we got this week that we could get throughout 2021 too. I mean, that's already something optimistic after the year that we've had. Please, 2021, be better to us.
Yeah, and again, I mean, this is, I mean, everyone knows about what happened with the demise and obviously purchase of WCW. That's why these things are being addressed. I know Tommy Dreamer, it's typically the comedic role and act of Impact Weekly, but that's why he had that segment of drawing those concerns, is because it's not a secret. Everyone knows where everyone came from and what happened because of it. That's why everyone's saying, hey, folks, in case you don't know, we know. We're not going back down that path. This is why this is monumental and it's changing, because everyone learned from that situation and say, well, we want everybody to do better, to eat, in other words, and everyone to succeed. And that's why you have to do things the uncasual way that you haven't. And here we are, everyone playing friendly and nice. So that's my last note of that. Again, I don't know. We're here each and every Tuesday for our Impact on AXS TV review. Obviously, we'll keep an eye out to Dynamite to see what's happening as far as storyline ramifications on Impact. Final Resolution on Impact Plus this Saturday. And again, if you have not had a chance to watch what happened on Impact Wrestling tonight on AXS TV. It is on their Twitch, and it's also going to be on their Facebook and YouTube channel. So yeah, plenty of ways to watch it. Let us know in the comments what you thought about tonight's episode. Stay tuned each and every Tuesday, 10 p.m. after the conclusion of Impact. You can catch our reviews weekly. We love all of you all so much for your interactions and engagements, and keep them coming because we're here until Scott says we want you to work for Impact, and then won't be doing reviews anymore.
We're still checking our emails for that. We know it's going to come any day now as these partnership expand. So will your need for people like us on the team. So we'll just our emails. You know how to get a hold of us. So
yeah, that's right. That'll do it, folks. So we'll see you all next week. Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.